Hi, and welcome to the Mason Duchatschek Show. I'm Mason. My guest today is Dr. Don Barden, a classically trained economist, best-selling author, and one of the most sought-after minds in leadership and decision-making. He's advised billion-dollar companies, political leaders, and top-tier executives around the world. And his groundbreaking research, The Perfect Plan, has helped unlock all kinds of transformational strategies for leadership and organizational success. But today, we're diving into his boldest and most forward-looking work yet. Here Come the Girls. It's a provocative and inspiring look at why women are poised to lead a global economic revolution beginning in 2028 and 2032. In his book, Dr. Barden makes a data-backed case that the rise of women in leadership isn't just a matter of progress, it's the key to the global economy. We'll explore the qualities that make women's leadership uniquely effective, how organizations can prepare for the shift, and what this means for economic growth and the future of work itself. Welcome back, Dr. Barden. I'm glad to have you today.
Hey, Mason, thank you. And I'm telling you, like I always said, and I don't say this all the time, but thank you for your work. I love what you're doing. Man, keep it up. And I say this for a couple of reasons. One is the truth. But, you know, when you're living in this world of cyber discussions and virtual realities, you don't always get the feedback. So I want to be the one to tell you, you're doing great work and keep it up. So thank you.
I'm keeping good company. I'm keeping good company.
Hi, thank you. I'm excited.
So you predict that women will take over global leadership between 2028 and 2032 and 10x the economy. That's a really bold claim, but I know you've got data behind it. Yeah. What led you to this conclusion?
Well, it's no longer a prediction, it's reality. We're already at 42%. So 42% of every organization in the world is run by women. And what led us to it was the power of observation. That's all there is to it. So as you've been so kind to interview me before on The Perfect Plan from 20 years ago, that's where we studied what elite leaders were doing differently. And you watch it, and you see it grow and adapt, and people navigate and negotiate with themselves on how to be better leaders. But we started watching and noticing something over the past 5 or 6 years that was just unique, and there was no judgment to it. It was just, wow, there are a whole lot of women around here. And I don't mean that bad, but when I started in this in sales and leadership, going back into the mid 80s, it was sort of the end of the old Mad Men era, where you had some, some just,
absolutely.
There's nothing wrong. It's just social construct, right? But now we're looking around going, wow, I used to be in a committee at a Fortune 100 company, and it'd be 100% male or 90% male. Now I'm looking at it at 60% female or 70% female, and that's just where it started. It started with observation, and then we started applying science to it and said, look, let's take a look at it. So I was able to kind of thumbnail it and whiteboard it, and we were doing a lot of math, and we realized that quantifiably the math that this objective, this thing, this phenomenon was going to tip over in the year 2028. So in the year 2028, we will have more women in senior leadership and business ownership than we have men worldwide. And I mean, everything from the little corner sandwich shop to Parliament is going to be dominated by women. And so we were able to go back and prove that momentum and prove what was happening. Like I said, it's already at 42%, and we have 30 months before, roughly, it was when we're filming this, in 30 months, it'll be 2028. I don't know about you, but that sounds like it's like in the sci-fi distant future. It's not. It's right around the corner. So we started looking at this, and we realized that, yeah, this is correct. That tipping point is going to occur. It's just math. And we can go back to the math, and we can go back to the 50s and the late 50s, early 60s with everything from birth control to changing in education and how women were starting to go into areas that were traditionally male, to looking at the social construct of why were men there to begin with? Well, that's an easy answer. Men were the dominant gender in business because of red muscle mass. That was it. We're pretty good at cutting down trees and plowing fields and turning wrenches and doing stuff. And the problem is that the agricultural revolution is over. The industrial revolution is over. And there's an argument that the .com is over. But we don't have to have 100 men plowing fields anymore. We don't have to have 200 lumberjacks clearing fields and cutting down trees. Everything is moving to an automated thing, which balanced it back out, which meant that as women were building up within society, becoming more, in tune, having more desire to do things and wanting to express things differently over the past 50 years, that is peaking out right at the exact same time the need for the red muscle mass isn't there anymore. So at the time this buildup has been occurring, the playing field leveled in a way that was crazy. So we started looking at it and we said, okay, well, what does this mean? And it's obvious. Women are going to take over global leadership in the year 2028 across the board. But then the obvious next question is, and this is harsh, but this is just science. It's called the null hypothesis, which is mostly mathematical. But what the null hypothesis asks is yes or no, right or wrong. Any answer is fine as long as we know what it is. Because in science, if I say, hey, Mason, that's not going to work, you say, thank you, I won't do that. Right? It's okay. If I say, Mason, this does work, you say, okay, well, then I will apply that when necessary. Not working is just as good as working because now you know what to do with that. And that's what this hard question is. And it's real simple. Okay, girls, we know you're about to take over global leadership and we can see why. And this is exciting. Are you any good at it? That's the question, right? And so we started looking at it and this is exciting. Not only are women good at it, they're better at it than men. And they're better at it. And it shows mathematically because if you take a female-owned business right next door to a male-owned business in the same geographic area with the same variables, the same everything going on, a female-owned business outproduces in revenue a male 3-to-1. So she's making 3 times the revenue the guy's making. She's making 3 times the profit the guy is making. She has twice the longevity with her employees, which is important. So a male-owned business in North America right now, the average employee is 39 years old and changes jobs every 3 years. A female business, same average, same 39-year-old, but they stay an average of 6 years. So double the retention rate from an HR perspective. Now, a little side note, because somebody's going to be thinking this, there is an economic argument that somebody's production ends at a certain point. They maxed out, they're burnt out. And so maybe it's good for them to go. The question would be, okay, well, maybe 3 years is good. Maybe people should change jobs every 3 years and go on to something new and fresh. No, the data showed us that not only was she moving from 3 years to 6 years longevity with her retention rate from HR, those employees' metric, their production rate, whatever they measured them by, their production went up in years 4, 5, and 6. So we're looking at this going, wait a minute, she makes 3 times the revenue, 3 times the profit. She has twice the retention. And so then the next thing is like, I wonder what her customers think. So we go to customers and we say, hey, Red Bull, Pepsi, Coke, or Red Bull, Monster, Coke, Pepsi, BMW, Ford, well, whatever. Why do you choose this? Now, they didn't know if it was a male or female-owned business, but we said, list the characteristics of this company that you feel drawn toward. Well, that list was exactly the list that both male and female employees said they love working for her because. And then when we went to all the leaders, we studied 2,000.
Can you give us some hits? Can you give us some tips on what some of those things are?
I'll tell you a breakdown of it. But what I'm trying to get to is the consistency between the consumer, the workforce, and the leadership was spot on across it. So even though people didn't know that it might have been a female-owned or run business, they were migrating toward that because of the culture that she created, for it. And just a little side note here, Mason, this is not male bashing. I am not.
No, I get that. Like, I totally understand. There are things that.
Well, this is the greatest opportunity in history because we're about to see a 3x jump in our economy because of this. The obvious question then is, okay, how does she do it? And she's got the numbers to do it. And what it boiled down to was a female's ability to negotiate and work with her team at a level so radically different from a man's traditional way of doing it that the timing was divine almost in it. So if you think about this, guy, I'm not knocking guys. I'm a guy. I've got 3 boys. My dog.
Sure.
Everything's boys around here, right? So I'm a guy's guy, but I'm also smart enough to say that most guys in fact, 100% of the guys are fine with this because guys don't care. Guys are like, great, if she can do better, let her do it. I mean, guys have no ego around that. Now, you're going to run into a few jerks out there, but no, this is fine. Guys are embracing this. What happens, though, when a guy looks at a problem and say somebody brings him a problem, a guy will say, oh, give it to me, I'll fix it.
Amen. Like 100%. We totally focus on the problem. What's the solution? And we look at people and we're like, well, if you didn't want a solution, why'd you come to me with the problem?
Exactly. Bingo. You just nailed it. You're a guy. Congratulations. You are 100% a dude. That's how guys operate because that's how we've always operated. It's how we were taught to operate, right?
But there is a better way. And that's why it's important to have women on your team. Like I am cognizant of that. I've been in relationships in the past where, my wife or whatever would just say, hey, I don't need you to solution. I just need you to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't fix
And
it. Just listen. Yeah.
because of that, I mean, I'm cognizant and I'm aware. I've been taught
Yeah.
that I am my own greatest obstacle if
Yeah.
I don't learn from that and apply that new knowledge. And the same
So,
thing in business. If there's women
oh,
that can do things different or better than
do
I
it.
need to know this is my tendency, but there before I act, there are other ways, and
Right. And
feel
that's how
free to expound on
99%
that.
of men think about it. They're like, great, you got a better way of doing this? Let me know. Because the big deal, and I'm about to describe it, I'll jump to the end real quick. What we learned in the study about Here Come the Girls, or it's going to be the best thing that's happened in modern history. I mean, it's going to be that significant to our economy, to how we interact with each other. This is huge, but it's not a girl thing. It's just something girls do. Now, the math is going to be overwhelming. The math is going to say that it's just there are going to be more women in leadership and business ownership than men. There's nothing we can do about it. But imagine when the men start applying, say it's 30%, 35% men. When those 35% start mimicking what she does, oh my God, get out of the way. This economy is going to be a nonstop train to the moon. I mean, it's just going to be amazing. But here's the difference. So a guy wants to fix it. So an employee comes up to a guy who's the boss, the owner, whatever, and says, hey, we got a problem. He says, oh, let me have it. I'll fix it. I'll come up with a solution. Okay, great. Boom. What's happening, and we now know this, is by saying, let me fix it, you're literally neutering the person who brought you the problem. You're saying to them, you can't do this. You're not good enough. Let me do it. And you go do it. And it might be successful. Most of the time it is. Nothing wrong with it. But you have neutered that person who brought you the problem. Now, when you go and look at how a female does it, it's radically different. So the same problem brought to a female leader, she's going to add 3 steps, very, very short steps before she tries to fix it. And those 3 steps are really simple: sympathy to the problem, empathy to the person, and meet them in the middle. So what she does, the first thing she does is she separates the problem from the person. She shows sympathy to the problem. Like, yeah, I know that dock worker strike is real. That's significant. It's messing up our supply chain. I get it. I saw it on the news. I know that's your fault. That's over here. So she literally separates the problem and shows sympathy to the problem because it's real. Then she looks back at the person and shows empathy to the person. Hey, I know this is your responsibility, but you're not responsible for that. Yes, you're in charge of the supply chain and shipping, and I understand, but that strike didn't have anything to do with you or your performance. It's just something we need to work on together. Are you okay? Just breathe. I want you to know that you're fine. We're going to work together to figure this out. So think about that. Sympathy to the problem, isolate the problem, take the problem away from the person and just set it to the side so now you can deal with it. And then you look back at the person who brought it to you and said, are you okay? I know this, you didn't cause this, but I want to make sure you're breathing. You're okay. We're fine. We're going to get through this together. Sympathy to the problem, empathy to the person. Then she does the magical thing. She meets that person in the middle and she says, in her own words, however she says this, what would you do? If I gave you a magic wand, what would you do? This is interesting, Mason. 94% of the people who bring you the problem know how to solve the problem. But what a guy does by saying, okay, give me the phone, I'll get on the horn, I'll fix this thing, you just skipped over. And that's what I mean. You neutered that person. What the female leader is doing is saying, hey, what would you do? If I gave you a magic wand, how would you solve this? Knowing that 94% of the time, that person knows the solution. So that person tells her, ma'am, this is what I would do. And then she does something beautiful. She just looks at him and says, okay, go do it.
So here's what let me give you some feedback on how this is affecting me.
Yeah.
I don't know who the speaker is. I would totally give him credit if I could, but I wrote about it a little bit in my book, Inclusive Leadership. But he talked about the power of collective genius. Mm-hmm. And he was a speaker, and he had an environment, and he gave people an IQ test. And of course, there's some smart people in the room, and there was 1 or 2 exceptional people that were smarter than everyone else. But then what he did is he divided up in groups and said, hey, you 4 people work on this, you 4 people work on this, you 4 people. And what he found was that all of the teams did better than even the smartest person by themselves.
Absolutely.
So there's a power of collective genius. But if men just operate from our natural, that's the problem, let me fix it. Yep. And we don't engage and seek feedback. Like, I love what you're talking about, about the approach that women will take, because that's engaging. Now they're going to engage the collective genius. If I have a team, but I have, what was the term you use? Muted them. Neutered. Yeah. If I neutered the team, then I might as well not have a team. I'm by myself.
Yeah.
So that her leadership by example or ability or natural instincts to be able to handle things in that way, to engage a full team, can engage the collective genius of those
Oh,
folks
yeah. And
so
you know
that
why?
they can do more.
That's
Makes total
absolutely
sense.
brilliant conversation, because collective genius works because the people at the table, which include leadership, great leaders never want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to be in a room where everybody is getting smarter together. And that's what collective genius does. Knowing that 94% of the people on your team who bring you the problem know how to fix it, she listens to them and says, I get it, go do it. She empowers that person to go do their job. Now, multiple things are happening here as far as responsiveness goes. What she's really doing by saying, I'm showing sympathy to the problem, empathy to the person, and I'm leaning in and I'm going to empower you to do your job. Just go do it. What she's saying to that person is, I see you, I hear you, and I understand you. I see you because I see the problem and we've isolated. It's over here on a shelf. I've got sympathy to that. I hear you because I've had empathy. I've reached out to you and I hear you that you're okay. But I understand you. I understand that you're the genius. You're the who. You're the hero. You know how to fix this, and I'm empowering you to go do it. So
let me contrast two separate cultures.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I know where you're going.
One is toxic.
Yeah.
Do it yourself, hero.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do something when you tell me to, versus the latter example that you're given with a women's leadership approach that is engaging. That is a healthy culture. And that is one where you are conditioning the people on that team to not only contribute here, but to look for ways to do it in the future, because they know people are actually going to listen and value their ideas, and they're going to want to continue to provide that because they know it's appreciated. And now
you said the magic word. That was it.
I get it.
You just nailed it. So when a person feels or a person is a recipient of that type of leadership, when they say to themselves, consciously or subconscious, oh my gosh, she makes me feel seen, heard, and understood. She empowers me. What they're really saying is, because you see me, hear me, and understand me, I feel valued. Right. And I'm telling you right now, and I'm employed, when you've got a group of people that feel valued and they are empowered, get out of their way. They will do anything for you. So think about the genius of this. The guy just says, I'll give it to me, I'll fix it, right? Boom, I'm better than you. It's not toxic, or it can be toxic, but it's not inspiring.
Right.
She's sitting there, I see sympathy to the problem, empathy to the person, meet you in the middle, which means I see you, hear you, and understand you, which means you feel valued. And oh, by the way, I'm handing you the wand. You are empowered to do it. Those people are moving mountains. But here's what's really happening. Two things happen with this. Next time there's a problem, do you think that person's going to come to her? No. That person already knows that they are seen, heard, and understood. They are valued and they are empowered. They're going to fix it themselves. They have permission to be the best they can be. So when a problem does happen in the future, they might see her in the hall and go, oh, hey, we had a dock worker thing. I don't know if you saw it the other day, but it's fine. We fixed it. And she's going to go, okay, and just keep walking, right? Because the team did their job. But here's what's really happening. When the guy, traditional patriarchal system, when the guy says, let me fix it, you're getting in the weeds, which means you think it's more important to do their job than to do your job. Your job as a leader is to set the guardrails, set the morality around this, drive it with fuel to get people where they need to be. But what your real job is to be innovative and creative, meet with customers, think about strategy into the future. If you're fixing problems in the weeds, you're not doing that. So when you ask yourself, go, wait a minute, a female business outperforms a male business 3-1. Why? Right there, because she's empowering her team. In fact, the team is so empowered and so valued, they're staying with her twice as long as they stay with anybody else. Their production is going up. When they do leave, and this is so important, when an employee of a female leaves, a lot of them come up to her and hug her and thank her and say, hey, this has been the best 6 years of my life. I'm not leaving because I'm unhappy here. I'm leaving because you gave me such an opportunity that the best thing for me and my family, this dream career I've got in front of me now, is happening. And I just want to say thank you. It would not have happened without the environment and without your belief in me. And I'm telling you, and you know this, after age catches up with all of us, we can look back and go, and I am already looking back and going, wow, those are the memorable moments. Those are the moments where you're like, wow, that person just went out. We planted a seed with somebody who went out and is also making the world better. But think about this. If she's got an empowered team doing that, working twice as long, increasing production, solving problems before it elevates to her. She's out there being innovative and creative and meeting new customers and thinking about new strategy. You want to know why she outproduces the guy 3-1? Because she shows up. She stays in leadership. She trusts her team. Dan Sullivan calls it the who, not how. Your job isn't to know how to do everything. Your job is to know who knows how to do things. And you hire them and you get out of their way. And if somebody is doing that to you, then they're your hero. And if you got a bunch of heroes working for you, you can do anything. And she figured that out. And
I'm so glad we're having this.
Huh?
I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because
Yeah.
if people hadn't read the book or hadn't listened to this thing and they hear these types of trends coming up, I could see where guys would panic and think it's a threat, when this is the exact opposite of a threat. This is an absolute game changer, an opportunity for, in the meantime, you to learn new skills and to tap into new powers and to collective genius. This is a world of opportunity for people who can set their ego aside and can have some emotional intelligence and some growth and say, hey, I can learn from this. I can surround myself with people who can do things perhaps different or better than I can. And I can learn from them while this is happening. And this is an asset, not a threat.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity, not an obstacle.
Absolutely. So think about this. We went to every male out there and we said, hey, the Industrial Revolution's over with. The Agricultural Revolution's over with. We get the .com thing, but it's a level playing field. Here's how you're going to have to act to maximize your employees and maximize your customer base. Every guy out there is going to go, okay, just do it. So again, this is not male bashing. This is just
not at all.
Impeccable timing. As women are coming over the arc and are going to dominate it, they're doing that at the exact time that the economy, this mythological creature, the economy, is saying, we want you, we need you, we're crying out for this.
So what role can male leaders play in accelerating or supporting this shift? Instead of fighting it, how can they support and accelerate it?
It's the honest assessment. Great question. They have to honestly assess themselves. They have to look at it and say, okay, am I doing this right? Or am I one of those toxic guys that's trying to fix it? And forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. You've been trained to do that. Look at this as an opportunity to be better. And you go to anybody, male or female, I don't care what you're doing, and you say, hey, you do this and your business will grow 3x. I'm willing to take a shot. I'm willing to dip my toes in that to see what's going to happen. But here's what's really cool. And this is the other thing that, so I'm going to put my doctor hat on, my econ economics hat on and tell you this. What's interesting is when we study these women all over the world, these great leaders, we studied over 2,000 of them. One of the themes, or a couple of themes that came out of the study that weren't related to the science, but were definitely worth exploration. One is that every woman we interviewed with celebrated their femininity. Nobody was trying to be like the guys. Nobody was wanting to dress and act like the guy. And we had every size, shape, color, flavor you can imagine of women we interviewed. I mean, it was everything. But they were like, this is me. I'm not trying to be you. That was huge on this. But the other thing that we learned about women is they don't dig mergers and acquisitions that much. What women in their style, their inherent style, is around collaboration. That they would rather collaborate with you than buy you. They would rather say, hey, how can we, again, we're not the smartest people in the room, but we're in a room where everybody's getting smarter together. If we're all rising together, that's got to be a good thing. So women love collaboration and leadership. They're okay with mergers and acquisition, but that's not their target. It's about collaborating. So this is the econ lesson for your group. Now, this is doctoral stuff, but follow me. It's pretty good. Percentages of growth. So if you're going to 3X your company because you have an empowered workforce who can go out there and feel valued and do things you can't do, you're aligning with your consumer. Everything about this is working. So you're growing 3X. But so is the other companies around you, because the vast majority of them are run by women now. And these are companies that you collaborate with. When 3X companies collaborate with other 3X companies, math doesn't allow that to be added. You cannot add percentages. You can only multiply and divide percentages. So what we're about to see in the economy is we're going to see every business out there have the opportunity to 3X. But those that are collaborating, that's not X plus 3X. That's 3X cubed. So we're going to see somewhere between 3X and 9X growth in the economy beginning in the year 2028. So to go back and answer your question about what should men do, you should ask yourself this question. What am I doing to be prepared? I hear this. I can do it. I can stumble through it and learn. But luck's funny, right? Jefferson said, I don't believe in luck, but I know the harder I work, the more of it I find. That's true.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you about luck is that luck does favor those who are ready when it happens.
What are 2 or 3 things that people can do to prepare?
Start with the honest assessment. Where
Okay,
are we?
that's one.
What are we doing? And then second, raise their hand and say, I want to get here, but we jokingly call this the Jack Daniels effect. I don't drink anymore. I used to, but I don't. But there's only one reason you drink Jack Daniels, and that's to get there fast, right? That's it. There's no other reason. And I like Jack. I love Jack, but that's why you drink it. So we call it the Jack Daniels effect in economics. You got to ask yourself, okay, what am I going to do to get there fast? And again, Sullivan's theories are called the 4 C's. When you're looking at something like this big galactic shift that's coming in the economy, you've got to say to yourself, okay, as I approach this, how am I going to do it? The first thing you do is make a commitment. Okay, I'm going to figure this out. When this tipping point occurs and the economy takes off, I'm going to be prepared. I'm making a commitment right now. That's the first C, commitment. Then you got to be courageous. You got to be able to say, boy, this is going to be scary. This is going to be a change. This is going to be an evolutionary dynamic. So I've got to be courageous. And remember what we were talking about once before, courage and fear, right? You can be fearful and courageous at the same time. Then the third C, thank you, Dan Sullivan. The third C is basically, what am I doing to get the capabilities? What am I doing to learn? You've got to learn quick. And you say to yourself, okay, I'm committed, I'm courageous, and I've sought the capabilities. They've called me, they've called you, they've listened to these podcasts, they've done whatever they can do. If you make a commitment, if you're courageous, and then if you have sought out the capabilities and trained and learned how to do this, rewire, deconstruct your brain from the way you used to do it to what your consumers, your workforce, and the economy is screaming for you to do, then guess what? Then you're allowed to be confident. So most people say, well, I'm already confident in my business. I'm not going to do this, or we'll work on it. That's a lie. Confidence is a byproduct of commitment, courage, and capabilities. And it's only there long enough for you to reset the bar. Anybody who says, oh, we're confident it's going to happen, we're confident we can handle this, we're confident, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're hiding behind a tree. It is okay to say there's nothing confident about this. Confidence is going to be a byproduct of me making a commitment, being courageous, and going out and seeking the capabilities. So seek those capabilities. Listen to every one of your podcasts. Deep dive this stuff. Read your books. Read my books. Call us up. Raise your hand and ask for help.
Speaking of which,
help me.
What's the best way for people to interact with your work and to connect with you and your organization?
Sure. Well, you can obviously listen to this podcast. This is great. Your series is awesome. But I'll tell you, and I'll do this. We haven't done this for Here Come the Girls, but I'll do it for you. If any of your listeners will look at me on LinkedIn and send me a personal note on LinkedIn and say, hey, I was listening to you on Mason's show. I love Mason's show. Mason's the best. I would love a free e-copy of Here Come the Girls. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to them right there. If they want to have a conversation or dialogue, we do it. You can also go to the website, donbarden.com. LinkedIn's always the best. Shoot us a note on LinkedIn. Say, love your work. Love what you said on Mason's show. I listen to Mason's show every time. He's the best. Can I please have a free e-copy? I'll be happy to send it to him. Or you can go on Amazon. If you like Tector, if you like to hold it, go on Amazon. Buy yourself a copy. Cool. But that's really the beginning. It's an honest assessment and then the courage to say, I'm committed and I'm going to seek the capabilities necessary to do it. And everybody's got a different thing. But I will tell you, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'll reiterate it. My goal with every single client is for me to get fired. Because not fired in a bad way, but for the relationship to complete. I look at training and I look at this type of thing as like going back to college, going to university. You're going to graduate. You should not become a professional student of this. I think we can get you fixed in a month to 3 months max. So if we have a client engagement that lasts really, really long, I'm usually like, is this healthy? Is this good? Because we want to go in there and help you and then cheer for you in the future and see how to be relevant and help you out. But we don't want to land and expand and be with you forever. I mean, that'd be great. But the goal is to help people in such a way that it's formative and they get the capabilities they need, combine it with their commitment and courage. And man, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader out there.
I appreciate it very much. I'm going to definitely invite you back on in the future. And I appreciate everything. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Hey man, thank you for being you. I swear you've got the best podcast out there. So I appreciate you.
It was my pleasure. Let's visit soon.
Let's do it.